financial literacy and even understanding generational wealth is a topic that's not often talked about.
Less than 1 in 4 Americans, according to Forbes, have any plans of passing on generational wealth.
I know that you, especially even how you grew up, you had to change quite a bit about how you even thought about generational wealth and money.
Did you know that less than 1 in 4 Americans, according to Forbes, have any plans of passing on generational wealth? That is not just a stat. That is crazy. That's every 3 out of 4 people you meet either do not have a plan, do not believe they're capable of, or do not even know enough to be able to both create wealth and then be able to pass it down to those they care about most. So we are here to talk about that today. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to give you a beginner's guide to creating generational wealth. And we're going to do this so succinctly, so strategically. And with that in mind, I'm going to kick it over to Mary Beth to help us define generational wealth.
Yep. So in terms of generational wealth, when it comes to the difference between money and legacy, that is absolutely what generational wealth actually is. So generational wealth is going to refer to assets, income streams, and financial knowledge that are built, preserved, and passed down from one generation to the next. Legacy is actually about what you put into the next generation. So that's going to be morals, values, and just principles. Generational wealth is a physical, basic amount of money, essentially, that you are passing down. And so our whole goal with this video is to say, first off, we are not financial planners. We are not what you would call experts, I guess.
True that.
We are just 2 people who have had a lot of great mentors in our life who are very wealthy, who have run businesses. We've run businesses, and we've learned a lot along the way. And
School of Hard Knocks.
yeah. And one of the areas we found is that financial literacy and even understanding generational wealth is a topic that's not often talked about. So that's the whole reason behind why we are making this video. And speaking of mindset, I know that you, especially even how you grew up, you had to change quite a bit about how you even thought about generational wealth and money as well.
Yes. So one thing that we've noticed and talk a lot about is how people talk about money.
Yeah.
And when you are in a lower income household or lower income community, how few people talk about money unless it's in a conflict.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I have such a good family, put such a great foundation in me in so many ways. But when it came to money, the only time it was discussed, I would say 4 out of 5 times, was in a conflict. Where did that money go? How did you spend that money? You know, like, we never agreed to this. We never talked about this. And it was always reactive. And so that creates a cycle where all of a sudden people are avoiding the conversation instead of getting strategic, instead of having, again, a plan. Like, hey, we're on a team. If we're going to have to get good at this, or the alternative, we're going to suck at money for a long time, it's like, okay, we're going to have to use this as part of daily life. This isn't about serving it. This isn't about, money being what we're all about, but this is about, we have to use this day in, day out. So why not create a plan and get strategic about that? That's a little bit of common sense and maybe a little bit of my backstory with it. But a couple things that I would always say for someone who's getting into this is start studying financial literacy.
Yes.
We're going to dive into 4 steps that you can run with and you can start, diving deeper into. But again, learn the terms. When someone says Roth, understand basics of what that means, and many others here to come. On the communication piece, my quick tip before we dive in there is to truly, and our marriage shifted so much when we did this, set a weekly or at very least a monthly time to talk about where money is going and to get an agreement how you can actually meet goals. If we need to buy a car, how are we doing that? If you have a grocery budget, how are we going to stay within that and still be fed? It's those little things that, again, you either get ahead of it or you're always going to stay reactive. So it's a little bit of mindset before we dive into practical steps. I know you wanted to introduce a little bit on diversification and income, so I will kick it to you.
Yeah, and we will get into those 4 steps, but I want to touch very briefly because this is a part of financial literacy. Many people think that the only way that they can create income is through what's called earned income or active income. And that's career growth essentially. Yeah. And I want to say this. We have developed ourselves. We have read so many books. We've listened to so many podcasts. We have actually become very valuable in the roles that we're in. We do a great job at our day jobs. And because of that, we've been compensated very well. You know, we've won President's
Absolutely.
Club, both of us, even a couple times for you. And that's not to toot our own horn. That's to say you can make yourself valuable at a company if you choose to. Now,
That is an essential step number one. Before you
yes,
do the others,
yes.
become a better person so you can build a better business before you start venturing out and trying to multiply that. You've got to be able to add before you multiply.
Yes, I mean, having a solid, stable job where you do have more than enough to where you can start looking into things like a couple other ways to diversify your income include investment income and also passive, or as you like to call it,
Residual income.
residual income.
Don't talk to me about passive income or I'm going to think you're lazy.
Yes.
Usually it's lazy people who are like, oh, I want the passive income.
Yes.
Sorry if I insulted you. I've just seen it a lot. So residual is excellent.
It's about creating something that's going to generate the cash flow that you're looking for, which takes a lot of work.
And can outlive you. It's not dependent on your input.
Yes. So at the end of the day, again, career growth is great, but there is the potential, and we're seeing it quite a bit right now, layoffs. You're not really in control if a company downsizes, and it's not even personal. It's completely a business decision, but that is the one downside, obviously, about a job, which is why things like, side hustles, dividend stocks, possibly looking into rentals, mutual funds, investments, e-commerce, like so many different options are out there. But the point of me saying all that is, I know that's very high level, but it's to get the wheels turning about, okay, what other options do I have out there? And so I know we want to go into those 4 steps here. So you want to jump in there?
Absolutely. I would love to. I like keeping things simple, so we gave me the first one, which is just building your financial base, getting the foundation strong.
Yep.
And people can complicate that. A lot of it is getting yourself out of the hole, out of debt, getting back to zero, and then just getting to yourself to a place where you're not strategically, but you're predictably building from there. So one of my number one tips that I need is that a percentage of our income automatically goes into savings before we can touch it. Mm-hmm. Because if not, I can think of 1,000,001 things to spend, and Mary Beth can think of 1,000,001 things to spend. Not really. Wow, you can see her face and how much she loved me saying that.
Why are you throwing me under the bus right now?
So it's really easy to spend money and try to snag more things, right?
I have delayed gratification.
You absolutely do.
I do.
It was just Christmas.
I just want to come in here for... Well, that was Christmas, though.
And we are talking about money in such a wonderful, meaningful way here. Anyways.
As funny as that is, though.
Exactly. How easy is it to justify, like, hey, it's just Christmas.
It's just this.
It's just here.
It's just that, but...
And so if you want to get predictable with putting money away, you almost want it out of sight, out of mind, where it's going into savings or going into your investments, right? Creating an emergency fund where if a car pops a tire or if siding blows off your house, like it may or may not have for us 2 weeks ago,
it did.
Just little things that can pop up and all of a sudden you need to borrow money from someone or you're trying to get a quick loan. That can lead you to the scary piece, which is high interest loans, credit card debt, payday loans, things that are predatory on their rates to you. And again, if you are already aware of that, then you know what I'm talking about. If you have no idea how much interest you are paying on the credit cards, you need to find out right away. Yeah. And once you have that in front of you, you've got to just like aggressively attack that.
Yeah.
There's so much more I want to say there, but I want to continue on. Step number 2 is not just getting out of the hole, but it is
growing your income strategically. And a big thing too, if you're kind of noticing a bit of a theme, this is about thinking long term. So even what Caleb mentioned about paying high interest down as quickly as possible, that is huge because that allows you to take your money and put it in better places, like long-term investing, index funds, a diversified portfolio, real estate ownership. For a lot of people, there's buy and hold. You can do multifamily units. A lot of people will buy and then they'll flip and sell for profit. E-commerce growth, business equity stakes. This is a very high level. Again, we are not financial planners. We are not financial advisors. These are options that are out there. But again, this is about how can I eliminate the things that are taking the most money from me and use the money as a tool to put it into better places for the long term. So,
very simple budgeting principle that I learned along the way was to grow your income. I guess to grow what your cash flow is a better way to say it. You either decrease your expenses or you increase your income. So a lot of what I referenced at first is decreasing your expenses, right? Setting things aside from the front end. A lot of what Mary Beth is talking about. We live in a gig economy. There is a million ways to create more income right now. So talk to people you trust. Find vetted resources, people who are further along down the road from you, and learn from them. Okay, step number 3. This is after you have both cut out expenses as much as you can, grown your income where you've got cash flow. Now we need to talk about number 3, protecting and being able to transfer your wealth. Okay, this is something that, especially if you're in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, might be uncomfortable, but you need a will. You need to set up your trust, your POA, your tax efficient giftings, your 529 plans, your Roth plans. Again, a lot of terms that I'm throwing out there. Your insurance policies, life, health, hopefully has been introduced to you if you're in that 30s and 40s state. Just your umbrella insurances, all the ways to actually get your income, not all of it going to Uncle Sam, like God love him, but he's got a lot already in his plate. So if you want things to stay in the care of those you love, again, and those you care most about, you just need to learn those titles. That is not something that we are accredited in or advising you on whatsoever. But those are some terms to, again, start looking up and to be able to master. So that's a very simple step number 3. And then finally, our favorite, step number 4.
All right, so step number 4 is to instill the values and knowledge into the next generation, which again, full circle, generational wealth here. And at the end of the day, if money is talked about, if money is normalized, if money is a family topic on good emotions versus stressful and bad emotions, kids are going to be much more apt to ask mom and dad questions like, oh, mommy, I want this toy. I want to work up to save for this toy. That's a money conversation. That is a great thing. They're learning delayed gratification. I have a friend of mine who has a little girl and she's about 3 years old. And whenever they play store and the little girl is the cashier or mommy's the cashier, whoever, they are using it's play money. But the point is, she's even teaching her daughter just basics about money, even at 3 years old. The more you can involve the whole family in money in some way, the better it's going to remove the fear of it. I think that's what it comes down to. It's the fear of it.
It is.
It's like if we don't talk about it, then it's that thing, oh my gosh, what is the money thing? Versus if we're actually having consistent conversations and someone knows how to handle money, it's going to be way less fear. And so one other thing too that's really cool is even having family budget goals. So, if all of everybody together puts in for something as a family vacation, or just coming up with fun ways to be able to talk about money and about budgeting. It doesn't have to be this doom and gloom at the end of the day, but just instilling those values about money and talking about it in a healthy way, that is changing the legacy of a family more than anything too. So
it's so good. It's switching from the avoidance and the scarcity.
Yes.
It is getting things to be assertive and abundant, and hey, like, we actually know what to do with money.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about it, we learn about it. That's something that we do. That's such a different identity. And if you're not there yet, you can be. I was not there for so long, but you can get to a point where it doesn't control you.
Yeah.
And you can reliably steward, you can reliably direct your money. So
yeah.
All of that said, today has been your beginner's guide. We have talked about your 4 practical steps and a few other tidbits in there. But number 1, building your strong financial base. Number 2, increasing your income and growing it strategically. Gig economy, ton of ways to do it. Protecting and transferring your wealth. That was number 3. And then finally, again, instilling those values and knowledge. We know we did a high-level overview over most of these.
Yeah.
please do let us know, what do you have questions about, whether that's you reaching out one-on-one, commenting publicly, whatever it is. You can tell we are getting a feel for what our audience wants most. We are excited to continue learning. I always want to be a peer to our audience and studying and accelerating everything we can learn here. And again, sharing the best, most valuable content we can.
And I would say too, in terms of the comments, I would actually love to hear the biggest wealth building challenge that you have right now, because it might show up in a future video. And so this is the very high level, but we definitely want to dive deeper. So please feel free to like, subscribe, and check the description. There are some links to some valuable resources that you can find on our website as well. It has been an absolute pleasure being here with you today. We look forward to seeing you again. Have an awesome day.
See you guys.
Bye.